So now, I don't know about you, but when I see something advertised as having 1.2 terabytes of storage, it better come with the damn storage. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Madison Charlton from MLC Tech, and oh my god, it has been, 2 years since my last tech video. I'm so sorry. I said I will post again soon, and life gets in the way. It's been 2 years. Hello everyone, I'm still alive. I'm still making videos as of today, but life's been super busy, but it's been good. So thank you for clicking back on this video. If you are a return subscriber, I really appreciate it after all of this time. But let's get back to the video at hand. Now, as we all know, the ongoing AI memory crisis is causing great shortages when it comes to hardware prices, especially that of computer RAM and storage. And in part of this reason, we have seen options for the ultra budget range of laptops become super limited. And now, while there is an argument to be made that the AI boom is causing shortages in consumer grade hardware, some manufacturers and resellers appear to be taking pretty significant advantage, especially in the desperation of the sub $500 market range, oftentimes with far from acceptable specifications. But as we are seeing now, deceptive advertising? Well, we're really going to have to get into this one because this is outright outrageous and, quite frankly, should be illegal. Now, I don't know about you, but when I walk into a shop or look at an online listing and I see the specifications of a computer, you see the processor, the amount of RAM you get, the amount of storage you get. Oh, how big is my SSD? Well, the specification label for storage should mean how much storage I physically am going to get in my laptop, right? Well, that doesn't appear to be the case for a few HP laptops, where there are several listings on Amazon for HP laptops that advertise the laptop of having 1.2 terabytes of storage. Now, you're probably thinking, that's not a bad amount for under $500. 1.2 terabytes of storage? Yeah, sure, that sounds like a good deal. Until you find out what they've actually done. They combined 128 gigabytes of internal SSD storage with a free 1-year Microsoft Cloud storage trial. Which this is the perfect example of a bear trap for people who aren't tech literate. It's a very dangerous example of a listing with dangerously low end specs attempting to boost interest with a steep temporary discount. You're probably thinking, oh, it's on sale, we're getting a great deal. Oh, look at that, 1.2 terabytes of storage for this price. Oh, you know, I have only got $500 to spend. I want a laptop with storage to store all my cat videos and pictures of the grandchildren and stuff like that, and you're falling for the trap. Now, cloud storage can be useful as backup media or something to archive stuff. Though it has to be said, I'm very much a user-first, privacy-centric advocate, so of course I'm going to advocate for more locally hosted, more sources where you are in direct control, but cloud storage can be a good combination for the average user to add to their storage library, to back up their files, to share across devices. I get it, for the average consumer, cloud storage, yeah. But you should not be using it as your primary storage outside of a cloud-based operating system. Now, there is a much widespread issue when it comes to budget laptops, and we'll get into that issue in just a moment, don't you worry. But we have to draw a massive circle around this issue. This is, quite frankly, outright disgusting. It's outright predatory. I've got no other words to describe it apart from straight up predatory. And quite frankly, this is deceptive advertising, and this type of deception, it should be illegal because it draws you into a much wider trap that will keep you financially tied down to this service. Now, I have a lot of issues with Microsoft, especially Windows platform as a whole. I take a look at my Twitter page. I'm very anti-Microsoft. I am against a lot of their decisions that they have done in the most recent years, especially Windows 11 and the pivot into AI. That is, of course, a topic we could do for another video, but the issue of also OneDrive being enabled by default on a lot of Windows systems, I am completely against that too. That's also another form of predatory practice that, again, we could have a field day with Microsoft. But the fact that you have 1.2 terabytes for advertised storage, but 1 terabyte of that is actually a 1-year trial of Microsoft OneDrive is outright predatory and disgusting. I mean, there is an argument if it was a lifetime subscription, but this is a 1-year trial advertised as the majority of your primary storage. And the reason why this is extremely predatory, because in the budget range of laptops, it's typically your non-tech literate people. So, Doris down the road, the local old grandmother who absolutely knows nothing about computers. She's just going to go, I want one with biggest number, please. That is literally all she's going to do. Oh, more space for my cat videos and my pictures of the grandchildren and my picnics and laybys. I want more of that. So if you can get me the high number of storage to store all my memories, then I'm going to go with that one. That sounds good. Unaware, old Doris has, quite frankly, just been scammed. Because in a year's time, when she's uploaded all of her files to her laptop, she's just going to see it as uploading and backing up all her files to Windows as normal. Then in a year's time, when she's exceeded that 120 gigabytes of internal storage, then after that year trial has expired, she's going to go, huh? What do you mean I can't access my files unless I pay you money? Well, I can't lose access to my files. Of course I'm going to pay. Which, like I said, for people who aren't in the know, for people who aren't tech literate, that is, well, it's just predatory. That's the only way I can describe it. And quite frankly, to old Doris, it's no different to getting hit with a piece of ransomware on your computer. That is, quite frankly, what I'm comparing it to. Because if you lose access to your files and the demand is pay up to continue access because you weren't aware that your 1 terabyte of your internal storage was actually a one year trial in the cloud, of course you're going to be held ransom to pay up for another year. Let me put it this way. It's not economically viable. Yes, you're going to be that deceptive marketing that got you to buy the laptop in the first place because you think it's such a good deal. But Microsoft OneDrive is £85 for the year for the 1 terabyte plan. £85. You can buy a 1 terabyte SSD for less than that. Now, of course, prices are steeping up. So when I publish this video, don't hold my word to it. But at the time of writing, you can get a Gen 3 or slow Gen 4 drive. I say slow, they're still pretty fast. For under £85, which instantly negates this. And OneDrive, you have to pay £85 per year, not one time £85, which, yeah, they've got you with that flash price tag that all your storage option beats out the competition. And now you're tied down for life with that £85 subscription because you didn't know what you were doing. And if you're someone who is not tech literate, like the example of good old Doris, you're not gonna want to faff around and risk losing your files, which, when you don't pay your cloud subscription, they send you emails and you're gonna lose access to your files. You're gonna stop receiving your files. You're gonna stop access to your files. That big red notification in your Windows operating system, which, quite frankly, is a form of horrible, malicious tag to dark pattern advertisements. I got lots of words that I can say. I'm trying to tame my language. See, part of a New Year resolution that of me is, let's not swear so much, let's not shout so much, let's not be so angry. Inside, I am fuming. Like I said, I am, in my field of work, I am an advocate for user-first private designs. I like to create technology that empowers and helps users. So, being the type of person I am, there is a fire inside me. And it's another reason why I hate Windows as a whole at the moment. Now, I don't want to make this a long anti-Windows rant. I'm going to make another video for that. Don't you worry. If you really want to see me go off, maybe, who knows, might start like a podcast in the future. But the fact that this was advertised as 1.2 terabytes of internal storage is just disgusting. Now, if they fully were upfront and said 120 gigabytes of storage with a 1-year trial of OneDrive included for free, perfectly fine, but they straight up said storage 1.2 terabytes. Now, in any typical listing, if you saw the storage listing as 1.2 terabytes, that would mean a 1.2 terabyte SSD. I'm sorry, this is disgusting, this is predatory, and outright should be illegal, especially because they know the type of people they are targeting in this price range is the people who is tech literate and desperate for a good computer deal. And quite frankly, access to good hardware to actually help and empower people's lives, and to be preyed upon because you choose to spend slightly less, because quite frankly, in this economy, a lot of people can't. And you're being preyed upon for it, which, I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of issues in this world at the moment. There's a lot of big stuff going down at the moment. But in my little tech corner, if I can advocate for some positive change in someone's lives that can actually make a meaningful impact in my space of the world, yeah, I'm all for that. Shame on HP for this false advertising, but also shame on Microsoft for how much they have bloated Windows with all of their services, all of their AI, mandatory Microsoft accounts, OneDrive backups by default for a lot of your documents and essential files, which long for ages should have just been your local storage. That is the priority. Then, of course, you could opt into a cloud provider of your choice to then back up. But the fact that Microsoft are trying to force it as a default to try and then sell you subscription services, because on most Windows installs, oh, you've used up your 15 gigabytes of storage that you get for free. Oh, well, you better pay up. A lot of people see that big red message and they pay up. And if you're going to prey on people who can't afford to spend more than $500 on a laptop, you could at least stop price gouging that market even more and giving people even less for the money than they already are getting. We have seen the trend for over so many years of the budget laptop market has gotten worse and worse and worse. And now, of course, a laptop from 10 years ago in the budget market, I feel like the value proposition of that back then, a $300 laptop or £300 laptop back 10 years ago, you would get a much more bang for your buck than what you would be getting today. Now, of course, relative performance, that laptop from 10 years ago in the budget range, of course, it's going to perform much worse than a budget laptop of today. You know, hardware scales, hardware improves. In 10 years, a lot has changed. But that price disparity and the performance you are getting compared to how the rest of the market skews up, you are getting ripped off more and more and more. And this is before the excuse of, oh, we're shifting our focus of current market needs of our NAND flash chips. They were doing you dirty long before. But with the recent AI NAND flash shortage, we have seen that not just from HP, many manufacturers has even started to substitute many SSDs in this price range with eMMC storage, which is typical for, you know, your £200 like Chromebook, but in the sub $500 range. Or we have seen SSDs get replaced for this slower short storage and with smaller amounts. For example, they might include as little as 64 gigabytes of slower eMMC storage. But as a manufacturer say, you're on a budget. Oh, poor you. Want more storage? You best spend way more on that laptop. Not just £100 more for the storage upgrade. If you want the next tier of laptop, you've got to buy up the next tier of laptop. You've got to buy the next tier of processor, the next tier of RAM if you want that extra storage, which, yeah, it's just not so good. But in this budget range, we have seen laptops with such low, pitiful resolution screens. For example, most are only 7360 by 7680p, which is the same resolution that my laptop was back in 2012. My first ever laptop when, you know, it was just baby Maddie, just me and my laptop. Please, mummy, I want to play Minecraft. 10-year-old me had the same resolution as what they're giving the budget now. And that laptop was £320. And that came with 4 gigabytes of RAM. And that's what they're still trying to give me today. It's just so outrageous. And my laptop back when I was little baby me had an Intel Core i3 processor. And now what do you typically get in Intel Celeron CPU? Well, not even that. It's one of those much more lower end Intel N series CPUs, which okay, they can be okay, especially with the Raiders pamphlet ones. There's a lot of potential there, but at the moment they're so weak, they're so cheap, and well, they're there for a reason. And that's not the worst thing. Some of these more budget laptops don't even run for Windows. They run what's called Windows 11 S, which I think stands for Windows 11 Stupid Edition, which does not allow downloading software via the web browser. You have to get all your apps through Microsoft Store, so they're even more in control of what you can do with your computer and feed you all these advertising dark patterns to make you buy their products more, and feed you more AI slop to make you less dependent on the hardware you bought because you cheaped out. But of course, subscription services are spread out over a month. Oh, that sounds much better to be able to get more out of your computer. If only you paid more for it anyway. And then even if you do pay more, Microsoft then tries to force you OneDrive and all their services down your throat, regardless of if you bought the more expensive Windows. Now, the worst thing about it is that these type of laptop listings often float the top of Amazon and Google's top results under search terms such as best laptops. It's all in the, the SEO of sales platforms to try and, advertise stuff to you that manufacturers want to sell to you. They usually pay for a lot of that SEO to sell you the rubbish that no one actually wants, and so they can scam and rip you off. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't get a decent deal in today's age. Now, if you buy a slightly older laptop, let's for example, from a laptop from 2023, which is an Acer Aspire 5, this can be found for £384. Includes the 1200p screen, a relative recent Intel-Core i5 processor. I believe that's 12th gen you're getting for in this example of a laptop, 512GB SSD. I have to say it, SSD, not eSMC SD card rubbish, USB 4, Thunderbolt 4, and 8GB of RAM. And now, goldmine, 8GB of RAM, what's that, an unborn child in today's age? Don't quote me, I wouldn't know, I don't have a child unless you count my kitties. I think Comey is worth, actually I think Comey Luna's probably worth about a terabyte of RAM, to be honest. How much did I pay for Let me check how much RAM I can get for my cats. Okay, so if I sold my cats now, I'd get 128GB of DDR5. I'm not selling my cats. I love them so much. They're my babies, and I love them so much. They're not going anywhere. And it's also expected that Apple's going to unveil ultra budget MacBook for around $599, which remains unclear on what specs of that's going to be, but that's going to be another spanner in the wrench for people like HP. Who also think it's good to charge you a subscription to use your printer. Otherwise, no printing for you if you don't pay your money and use official ink that you could only buy through our subscription service. Yeah, actually, fuck HP. But it might get more difficult in the coming months to find a decent budget laptop, especially with the AI shortages, which could persist until 2027 or 2028 from a lot of sources. So that sub 500 entry PC might disappear soon, so now might be a good time. If you find a good deal that's not trying to scam you with a OneDrive subscription, now might be the best time to buy. And if you're someone on a super ultra budget, maybe a Windows laptop just isn't it anymore. Now, Chromebooks are often far cheaper and handle low-end tasks such as web browsing, mailing, word processing, all just perfectly fine. And you don't have to deal with the rubbish of Microsoft. Now, if you said to me 10 years ago, Chromebook? Huh? I would laugh you out. I would say, Chromebook, I don't want something that's dependent on the cloud and all that stuff. Chrome OS, surprisingly, has come a pretty long way. I wouldn't use it myself, but if I saw someone on a budget, I would. My dad recently got a Chromebook, lifetime Windows user. Got a Chromebook for all he wanted to do with it. And Chrome OS also, it's Linux based, which that gets me going. I do love a bit of Linux. Don't get me wrong, Linux is my favorite. I use Linux on my main system. And Chrome OS is also a much more lightweight system. So if you are on that ultra budget line and you have a laptop with 4GB of RAM or 6GB of RAM or 8GB of RAM, going with something with Chrome OS, which is a much more lightweight operating system, could prove to be the more worthwhile investment. Let's face it, Windows have become so bloated and so unoptimized that my laptop idle that sits about 12GB idle. And I just got the damn thing. I've not installed much on it. 12 gigabytes idle. That's just crazy. Of course, idle RAM can scale depending on the system that you have itself. Typically, Windows 11 would use around 4 to 8 gigabytes on a laptop. That's still a lot. And if you're constrained on RAM, Linux typically, even on my big beefy system, I've got 128 gigabytes of RAM. I do a lot of heavy work on this. My idle consumption, 2.5 gigabytes. That's crazy. Which makes no difference to me on my big beefy system and my big beefy laptops. But on a budget system, that extra 2 gigabytes, that extra 4 gigabytes is pretty significant. Especially when you're constrained for RAM already. Having just an extra 2 or 4 gigabytes, that's massive. So Chrome OS, ooh. I'm sorry Windows, you have shitified your operating system way too much to the point Chromebooks are much more appealing. Now of course, the year of the Linux laptop. I'm not hopeful. The year of the Linux laptop. The year for the desktop, maybe. But laptops, unfortunately not. I don't see it happening, but soon. Soon it's going to happen. You know, if you have the option to buy a Linux laptop, that's going to be more lightweight. It's going to do better. It's going to perform better in every single way. It's going to be more stable when it gets to the point of mass adoption, where all versions of Linux can be pretty stable and pretty good for general usability. It's going to be a game changer. And you don't have to pay for your bullshit OEM Windows 11 license key either, which, yeah. Now, of course, an OEM key for manufacturers, like, what is it, like $10, $20 for a manufacturer? Of course, retail's like £100. Still, having a less bloated operating system that has the potential to see you have kickback in savings in your own system as well, because you don't have to pay OEM license keys to Microsoft. Of course, I want to see the other Linux system for the mainstream soon. SteamOS is great on the Steam machine. The Steam Deck. Sorry. My ROG Ally runs perfect. It is the perfect operating system for handheld systems. I love my ROG Ally now. I've got SteamOS on it and ditched Windows. It's just so much better. Now, I could sit here and rant forever why Linux is so much better than Microsoft and why Microsoft has ruined Windows, but that's a video for another time. I've talked way too much on this. Anyway, guys, I have talked for way too long on this topic. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. This video has been, well, a long time in the making. Thank you for everyone who's returned and given my videos another chance. Now, life has just gotten in the way, but I'm super excited to be back and trying to make videos here and there where I can. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to subscribe for more content like this in the future, make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, disliked it if you disliked it for some reason. Sad if you do. And if you want to see more of me spinning on my chair, ranting about tech, being happy, or flapping my hands, I'm sorry, some people don't like that, but that is just me. And if you like it for me, then thank you. If you don't, I'm sorry. But yeah, come along for the ride, because we love to talk about tech. More videos in the future will be more positive than this one, but thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. That sounds so rubbish. Bye. Toodles.